Hello everyone. I'm Klejdi. I come from Galenos Clinic. My presentation, it's called Squaring of the Circle and the Vitruvian Man as a model of ideal stretching. If we see here, kuadratizimi I rrethit është një koncept I gjeometrisë euklidiane, I cili mbështetet në definicionet dhe përkufizimet ku primar merret gjallimi I cili përbën bazën e jetës. Si të tillë, le ta konsiderojmë metodikën me cilën do të përcaktojmë modelin ideal të stretchingut, si të qëndësishëm nga natyra së vetvetja dhe të verifikueshëm me anë të shkencës së gjeometrisë për të përcaktuar të shëndetshme. Ky model përcaktohet nga elementet e simetrisë dhe proporcionit, si instrumentat ku me anë të unitit do të përcaktojmë edhe metrin për verifikimin e këtij modeli si një ligjësi të pandryshueshme. If we see this saying, anthropos metron panton, which means the human like the unit of measurement everywhere, we see that Vitruvian Man in the square and in the circle compose the unit of measure of everything, which is demonstrated in the sketches we will explain after. So if you see here, materials and methods, elements of Euclidean geometry, point, line, plan, surface, square, and circle. The Vitruvian Man in square and circle, proportion, symmetry. If we see this sketch of Da Vinci, we see some lines that he has drawn in all of the body, in the face, in the nose, in the mandibula, in the chest, in the knees, which we see. We know that Da Vinci is based on Vitruvius on drawing these sketches. So we go back and we study Vitruvius. We will study Marcus Vitruvius so we can explain how to find these lines through a method which is only crossing the diagonals. So we will have in mind in this way. We'll see here the drawing of Vitruvius in the square, where the body, he is standing, so he's in the standing position. We see that the body is in the square, so the feet are not in the square. That means that they are in the horizontal plane. We draw the diagonals in the square. We rotate the square 45 degrees so we can find the genital organ. After that, we find the points where the diagonals of the rotated square and the side of the first square are touched, so they form the little rectangles which we then draw the diagonals of these little rectangles in the four sides of the square. What we were saying is that we draw the diagonals of the little rectangles, and then we see that this figure, where are all the elements we find until now, it's and a square and a circle, which touch all of the diagonals of the little rectangles. So the middle point of the rectangles, which we confront with the figure of squaring the circle. But why we do that? Before we do that, we go and find the height of the umbilicus, which is lined in the red line, and the distance between the umbilicus and the genital organ is the same as the distance of the distance of half of the little rectangle. So what we do, we know that this circle has the center in the umbilicus, so we position this circle up, so he now is getting up, and we start here. If we see it's the same as the Da Vinci's Sketcher 2, we find the height of the arms through the diagonals, which we say before. Here it is the height of the arms, and in the crossing point of the diagonals, it's to the point where the elbows are presented. Here, through the other diagonals, we can find the shoulder too. Here, we can find too the chest, so the mammals, and here we can find the proportion which Da Vinci 2 has lined in the face, which first is the mandibula, and then after the mandibula is found, we go and find the clavicula and the eyes. And between the eyes and the mandibula, we find the nose, and then up the eyes, we find this part of the head. And then last, we find the height of the knees. In this point, which we have to do now, it's to put the human from the square to open it in the circle, like Marcus Vitruvius did. But before that, we see that with all the proportions, elements of the body we have formed a measurement. So we have formed a unit of measurement with all of the elements, which is called the meter. So, which is called the meter, that are the elements we have found. And other than that, we see that the diagonal of the square, of the rotated square, the side of the first square, which is the head of the body, the diameter of the circle, so the circle of the small circle, so the diameter of the big circle too, which includes all of this, which we will see after. And through this unit of measurement, we can measure the smallest unit. We can go and measure the cell too, or the atom. We see that the squaring of the circle, if we see this figure here, the human from the square, we see that has gone down to the circle, which we saw earlier before in the drawing, which we compared with the squaring of the circle. We see now that the human has gone down. The point where the genital organ was before, now it's the umbilicus. The head has gone down. This part of the posterior part of the feet, the heel, which was in the bottom line of the square, now has gone to the middle of the small rectangle, and the fingers of the feet they have gone to the terminal part, to the angle of the small rectangle. So we know that if the umbilicus goes down, we know that even the circle which was in the which has the center umbilicus has gone down too. So we know that the surface of the square and the perimeter of the circle are the same. So we know that, and they have the same center point, which is colligated to the squaring of the circle. Here we have two video animations, so that demonstrates that which I said before. The first one, it's the human that goes down, and then after he goes down, we have the other animation, which demonstrates how he is opened in the four angles of the square and on the circle. But before he goes to the square and the circle, we have some steps we have some steps that we will explain. So after he opens his legs and his arms to the angles of the square and the circle, we see that if we do two lines, we find the point where the shoulder is now in the new position, and the position of the arms where they are opened in the square. We find too the position how the heels are positioned in the square and in the circle, with one I didn't remember the word. With the radius from the genital organ to the heels, in the point where it touches with the square, we can find the position of the heels, and we can find the position of the fingers of the foot too, which are from the umbilical, with the radius from the umbilicus to the bottom point or bottom angle of the small rectangle, which they touch the square to the angles, which they touch the angles of the square. So if we finish all of this radius, we will see that it's formed the circle, which includes all of the elements and proportions we find until now. Here are two sketches of Da Vinci, one in coronal plan and one in sagittal plan, where he has found the proportions of the face too, and we too, like him, have, with the same measurements, have found the proportions of the face and of the hands too, in the figure of the Marcus Vitruvius, of the human in the square. We have zoomed in the figure, and we have found with the same measurement, which only rotating the square and finding the diagonals, we can find everything. Now, the theoretical part I finished, and I will speak a little bit about the practical part in stretching, where the Vitruvius man, like an ideal model of stretching, we see that taking this model for the stretching, in fact, we take primary, like primary, the health. So in the base of health, we see every deviation of the body or the organism from the ideal model, which is the Vitruvius model. And every deviation makes an illness or a feature. Where this model, which Dr. Ravostol said, has the starting point from the umbilicus and not from the bottom up or the inverse. We see now this is a skeleton, plastic skeleton, which I have wrapped it in plastic paper to demonstrate the aponeurosis on the human body, where I have done some lines in the umbilicus to explain how the forces are opened in the body, how the forces are opened in the body, starting from the umbilicus in the circle form. Now, if we see here, when the person's, when the figure, like we take the Vitruvius model, when the human goes from the square to the circle, even like he goes down in height, the vertebral column doesn't change its height, so remain the same. And from this moment, we know that every ganglion of dorsal root ganglion in the whole of the vertebral column height doesn't change. So, which means that we have not ectopic impulses, and with this we have no pain and no suffering. That which means that all of the body has uniform movement. Here we have where consists this model of stretching. The stretching exercises are done, so the static stretching exercises are done basing on this model from the umbilicus, which having every time in mind the vertebral column form. So we can make it better. We can make it better, and with the relaxation, through the relaxation of the muscles, aponeurosis and fascia, through the exercise of the stretching, with the making better of the form of the vertebral column, we have a decrease of the ganglional impulses, and after we have a decrease of the so we have decrease of neuromotor agitation and reduction of the pain scale. The principles of the stretching are the exercises of the stretching we have done are the same which anyone has seen doing before, but the difference is that we go so the difference is that we follow the muscular lines and the aponeurose lines, which to the ratio of inspiration and inspiration to in every step of the exercise, the correct position in the beginning and through the exercises, and to the pauses between the sets and the exercises. These exercises results effective not only in the reducing of the pain scale, but in the do you see me? But to not only the reduction of the pain scale, but to in the raising of consciousness, of the awareness of the patient for his state of the health, which is called vet edukim, so self-education, which he can maintain the health of his body, which the self-education can influence to his state of psycho-emotional state. Here are some types of exercises which I do with my patients. So, the stretching like a medicine of chronic pain, like a person that suffers from diabetes, he takes the medicines every day to maintain the diabetes, so we know that diabetes, it's not, we can only maintain and treat them, but we can cure it. Like this, one person who suffers from chronic pain uses the stretching exercises to maintain his health and his pain under control. The figure of the Vitruvian human in the circle can interpret not only like an ideal model of geometry, but like an ideal model of stretching. We see that every deviation forms an illness, which we said before. This illness, we diagnose it, we treat it, we stretch it, and we maintain it. Thank you very much.